Well, hey there. Welcome back to Return to Yehovah. I had something that's kind of been on my mind lately, and I wanted to share it with anybody that might listen. But, it's something we hear about more and more in the news, and recently it kind of hit home, not to me personally, but to someone that, to some people that I've worked with and known for years. And the topic is just suicide. Obviously, it's been around for centuries and multiple reasons why people do that, but, and one thing I'm not here, never will do is judge somebody for, having done that. But, I've known through the years, either a friend of a friend or relatives, somewhat distant relatives, that just for whatever reason had enough or just were done with life, and they decided to kill themselves in different ways. And I think it's just we've been hearing it more, like there's been police, cops doing that in different places around the country. And I've heard of there's some sites that talk about military guys that come back from fighting, for the country or whatever, and all kinds of trauma and post-traumatic stress and all that, and some of them end up killing themselves, and it's sad. And of course, the person that's going through it and finally ends their life doesn't, or isn't able to see what the repercussions are, like how many friends, family, loved ones are just devastated or shocked. And the most recent one, I won't mention any names or anything like that, but a guy that I did not know, but several friends of mine did, and even several of them had recently been in touch with him, and he said everything was fine, but then he ended up committing suicide. And so when I hear about these things over and over, and if you have not been through that in your mind, I can't relate to it. I can't pretend to know what anybody's gone through to get to that point. But I just had a thought go through my head a few days ago, and I've been wanting to do a video about it again, just on the off chance that somebody might come across this channel and maybe they'll see it, and it can help somebody. But, my thought was, if you get to a point where you're thinking about suicide or whatever, how about, you're at the end of the end of, you don't want anything more to do with this life. How about you try God? Now, that probably sounds very corny and stupid to a lot of people. But what I'm saying is, I'm not saying go to the local church. You may get help, but you may not. And a lot of people have been burned by churches over the years. We've all probably, had times where, we were part of a church and then things got bad or, changed in the way they do things, or, we're either asked to leave or just kind of quietly ignored until we just do leave, that kind of thing. But again, so I'm not beating up the churches in this. I'm just saying that I get it if you're a person that's even thinking about suicide, and church is probably the last place you would even consider going to. And sadly, that's because the state of the churches in America and the West nowadays. And I don't imagine any other religion offers much, not the ones I'm familiar with at all. So I'm saying, try God. That's one thing you can do before you end things, is you could just get alone. Everybody, in fact, sometimes that's the reason people do it, is because they're so alone and they have nobody, no friends, no family, or they feel unloved or whatever. Excuse me. But, how about if you just tried getting alone and calling out to God? God, if you're real, don't just say drop a bag of gold in front of me, because it's not going to happen. Or, don't, wish for crazy things. But there's been tons of cases where people over the years, and in different parts of the world, were not suicidal, but just horrible things going on in their lives, and they just cried out to God, and you may not know his name, you may not know what to call him, or just, but you know what? The cool thing about the real God, the God of the Bible, is he knows you better than you will ever know yourself. And if you are crying out just, God, I need help, and maybe you have to do it several times, but be sincere and say, I really need your help, I guarantee you he's listening, or he's able to hear you, and I don't know, how it's going to play out for anybody, of course, but he has a way. I mean, the last thing he wants is somebody to just die. He takes no pleasure in people dying, especially if they don't know him, if they're not close to him at all. Excuse me, sorry. Kind of a dry throat. But he would love it. I just know from what I've learned from the Bible and just living a life for probably almost 35 years, following Yeshua and trying to keep God's ways or whatever, just, learning all along, not having figured it all out. But I believe God loves when one of his creation looks up and says, like, Papa or Daddy, I need help. And they really mean it, and they really want him to help. Whatever the situation is, he's seen it all, and he absolutely could answer it and fix it for you. Even if you're at your wit's end because you've done some horrible crime and there's no way out but jail, and you're just, panicked about that, for example. I've known of cases where a guy had done something like that in the past, didn't get caught right away, but became a believer later, and then, the law caught up with him, but he was able to, get through prison, and, actually God worked with him and helped him even in prison, and I'm not talking about a Bible story, I'm talking about real case stuff. But so, before you kill yourself, I mean, you can always do that another day if you really, really feel like you have to. Give it a day, a week, whatever, and just try reaching out to God. But if you're really hurting, really reach out. I mean, cry out. And I think you'll be pleasantly surprised that he's listening, waiting for you, and he would love to come down and help you. I don't know how it's going to, happen in your case. Sorry, man, this dry throat. Anyhow, I just want, if you happen to be someone that's even considering ending your life, you never know. I've thought this over and over many times, that you never know what tomorrow may bring. And I know that sounds like something Mary Poppins would say or whatever, but in all reality, you might be having a crappy year, crappy months or whatever, and the next day might be the day that, somebody comes and offers you a job that you've been wanting one for months, or who knows, there's all kinds of stuff. So, I always think it's worth, don't give up, just see what else might come down the road. But honestly, if you get God on your side and get him to help you, there's nothing that can stand in his way. If he's going to come down and help you, I say come down. I don't expect him to step next to you and appear to you. I mean, I've never seen that with me or anything, but I know he's real. I know Yeshua or Jesus is absolutely real. They know what you're going through, and they will help you, but you've got to cry out to them, okay? I mean, I know, I don't want to be a broken record, but I want you to consider that, and by all means, take advantage of it. You can always end things later, although hopefully by then you'll decide not to. I don't know. But I'm going to close for now, and I'll just say, Yehovah bless you and keep you. Shalom.